Goblins, I need to tell you a little bit of a story, because yesterday I was brave enough to ask the Wheel of Time Twitter account the question we have all wanted to know. Will the Trollocs have booty? Are we getting thickum Trollocs? That's what we're all thinking. I'm just brave enough to say it. So I put out this twatter and silence. Nothing. Hours ticked by and I didn't receive one response from Wadon Prime. No, they're just now the Wheel of Time, right? I think so. I'm not sure. And even in the morn, once I was awoken by my alarm, I tweeted at them once again and said they won't answer because they fear what we really want. But little did I know, they were listening. They listened closely and they responded. Because as the sun rose on the second day, the Wadon Prime coincidentally put out this Shadowspawn video, and we got our answer. And in this video, I will break down the first look at the Shadowspawn we are getting. Note, it is actually not technically the first look we have gotten, because they did put out a puzzle yesterday as well for fans to piece together. And within this puzzle, we were revealed Moraine holding a Trolloc's head. That should have, why wasn't this the poster from the beginning? That's the poster, man. Oh, I'm pregnant. Am I being too much?
I'm just upset that you decided to say when the sun rose on the second day instead of saying at first light on the second day.
I know. I felt it too. But now let us look into our first looking at the Shadowspawn for the upcoming Wadon Prime show. Immediately, I spot in the first frame something I was afraid of being addressed, and that was every Trolloc looking the same, because within the books there is a vast diversity to the appearance of Trollocs, whether or not they are humans blended with birds, boars, bears, beasts, Battlestar Galactica. And this literal first frame shows us two Trollocs clearly pulling a look from two different animals, and that's just an attention to like, that is a corner you could cut and every fan would go, all right, yeah, I get why you had to do it, but they didn't, and I'm happy. But once your eyes move past the blurry Trollocs and you see what comes forth, a fade fades into view, and my perking of interest reached all-time perks. All time. But before we touch on the fade, I do want to address a couple more things with the Trollocs that are answered here in this first shot. Practical effects. These are definitely guys in costumes moving around, which, thank God, we learned our lesson from the Hobbit movies. It's better to have practical effects touched up with CG, and I can just tell that's what they're doing. Chef's kiss, yes. And they're favoring horns. Not every Trolloc does have horns, but it seems a very high percentage of them do. I believe this decision was probably made to help them kind of look different from orc. That's one of the big problems for any fantasy minion creature, is to differentiate themselves from orcs, and I think horns were just a way to accomplish that. But we move past and hear Moraine talk about how there is just countless Shadowspawn, millions of these monsters coming for us, oh my god! And then we cut to seeing the fade leading the Trollocs, and I have been waiting to see this image my entire adult life, and I'm finally seeing it. I'm excited. Ah! Okay, zooming in on the fade's face, this is a very serpentine appearance, more so than my headcanon, but I think this is pretty close to the description within the books. It doesn't have hair, because thank God it does not have hair. I looked at this hood for a long time and there is not hair underneath. Oh my god, fades with hair look so upsetting. I don't, like, not in a good way. They look upsetting in like a, and I like this kind of barbarian, brutish look to the Trollocs. It very much so fits the vibe of what I think Trollocs need to be. When orcs kind of feel like this vile, twisted thing, Trollocs are that as well, but I've always kind of pictured them, due to the little Easter eggs Robert Jordan scatters throughout, of having a more barbarian culture than orcs typically do. And I know orcs are more like it's a very fine distinction, because orcs are more tribal. I've always seen like standard barbarian being more Trolloc. Does that make sense at all? I don't know, but it seems like they're hitting that one thing that maybe was just in my head, so happy coincidence me. We then see a new shot of Lan, a new shot of Moraine. Nice, nice. And then we see the Fade let out a bellow meant to instill fear in what is presumably the Two Rivers folk fleeing from Emond's Field after Winter's Night with Trolloc army behind them, which happens in Eye of the World. But the number of Trollocs that slowly come into view is so many. I'm getting mad Fellowship vibes from this, which is a good thing. Eye of the World is supposed to be Robert Jordan's homage to Lord of the Rings. The series definitely diverts from that after the first book, but I really like this giving that feel of practical effects, guys in costumes with good CGI touch-up, and a Fade coming after the Two Riversmen, reminiscent of the end of Fellowship of the Ring. That all works for me very, very well. And a choice I specifically talked about before, years ago when the show was first announced, I almost want the Fades to look a little more CG because they're not supposed to like feel a part of this world. They're supposed to feel unnatural, and a bit of a more heavy CG overlay I think is actually a easy, convenient way to accomplish that, and that's here. Now, if you don't share that opinion, you could easily criticize this as just not being the best CG ever for a creature, and that's fine, but it's been leaning into what I've been saying for so long. Not that the heavier CGI overlay actually looks bad. I think it looks pretty darn good. There's no green screen here, I can't point. And then we get the money shot, and I love the vile look of this mouth. It is so upsetting and beautiful. Thank you. I love though that they have this graphic on the bottom. It's like Shadowspawn with these pretty like weaves coming off of it. Yay! And we've also in the last poster seen there's colored weaves along the bottom and there's colored weaves here. I believe that means we are actually going to see in the final version of the CGI in the show different colored weaves confirmed throughout, which I really appreciate. I get why they wouldn't do it necessarily, but in the trailer we just saw white light. Now it's looking like we're going to see some more colors in there, which yay. But now comes a little shot I believe the Wheel of Time Twitter account put in specifically to answer the question I arose. Will the Trollocs be thick? And the answer is yes, because we get this quick run across of Trollocs and pause! Look at that. That's not just a little bit of a booty. That Trolloc got donk. That's a donkey Trolloc. Why is that actually a dump truck ass? That's actually an ass. We get some more quick nightmare flashes of Winter's Night. Okay, I'm really excited to see that hopefully in episode 1. Please, dear God. And then we get one Trolloc in front of a horde raising a spear, and I hope this actually implies we're gonna see Trollocs of varying intelligence and some of them taking on leadership within the Trollocs themselves, while others are just kind of more mindless. It depends on the animal they're combined with and, you know, the structure of the Trolloc organization, because I actually think that's one of the benefits of Trollocs over a lot of different minions. They have a diversity to what their mental is like due to the fact they're combining with different animals of different kinds of mentalities. A bear Trolloc's probably a bit more scary and aggressive than a bird Trolloc. I like this image because it makes me think we might see that level of nuance within the Trollocs. We see a bunch more shots of Winter's Night, all of them pretty intense and scary. God, this looks like it's gonna be a nightmare fuel event in episode 1, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then we end in a final shot of a Fade, which directly parallels this shot of Lan, which if you were in my last Wheel of Time video, I theorized they're trying to set up like a fake out where you see Lan in his hood a bunch, you see this in its hood a bunch, and then one time they're swapped for a scare. I don't know, just a little theory that that's what that's gonna lead to. And then finally we get, you cannot outrun a Fade. And that's a good little note to end this one on. This is probably my favorite Wheel of Time drop yet. I've nitpicked the trailer, I've had some issues with posters, but the Shadowspawn, man, this is everything I've been asking for a long time. And there's just a lot of quick cuts here, so they could be hiding some stuff that doesn't look quite as good, but I liked everything I was shown. I've tried not to gush, I try to be critical of Wheel of Time, but this is looking like the Shadowspawn at least I'm happy about. But let me know what you thought of this drop in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you have not already. And do you think the Trollocs are too thick? That's the question of the day. Have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my latest high tier Patreons, Felix Tip and Jeff Sorensen.